Do you ever feel like you're not alone, even when you are? What if the shadows on your walls aren't just shadows, or the strange noises at night aren't just the house settling? Tonight, we dive into the most bone-chilling true stories of terror, tales of haunted objects, ghostly encounters, and cursed places that have terrified even the bravest souls. But beware, these aren't just stories. They're real, and their victims, they never saw it coming. So, turn off the lights, get comfortable, and prepare yourself. These stories won't just stay with you, they'll haunt you. Ready? Let's begin. 1. The disappearance of Tara Calico, 1988, New Mexico. On September 20th, 1988, the quiet town of Belen, New Mexico, woke up to a mystery that would haunt its residents for decades. Tara Calico, a 19-year-old college student, set out on her daily bike ride along Highway 47, a route she knew well and rode often. She carried her pink Huffy bicycle, her Walkman playing her favorite cassette, and a bright smile, unaware that it would be the last time anyone in her family saw her alive. The first sign that something was amiss came when Tara didn't return home that afternoon. Her mother, Patty Dole, grew increasingly anxious and began calling neighbors, friends, and eventually the police. Search parties scoured the area, discovering pieces of Tara's cassette tape scattered along the highway, almost as though she had deliberately dropped them to leave a trail. Several witnesses reported seeing a suspicious white pickup truck trailing her bike. The driver, they said, seemed to follow her closely, as if stalking her. Despite these accounts, the investigation quickly went cold. Days turned into weeks, then months. Tara was nowhere to be found. Then, nearly a year later, a shocking discovery rocked the nation. In June 1989, in a parking lot in Port St. Joe, Florida, 1,200 miles away from Belen, a Polaroid photograph was found lying on the asphalt. The image was chilling. A young woman and a boy were bound and gagged, lying in the back of a van. The woman bore an uncanny resemblance to Tara. Her terrified eyes stared into the lens, silently pleading for help. Experts analyzed the photograph, with some claiming the woman was undoubtedly Tara based on her scar and other physical traits. However, the boy in the photo was never identified. The Polaroid raised more questions than answers. Who took the photo? Where were the victims? Why had they been abducted? Patty Dole was convinced the woman in the picture was her daughter, but the case remained unresolved. Over the years, additional photographs emerged, some showing similar scenes of bound individuals, but none provided conclusive evidence of Tara's fate. To this day, the case is a haunting reminder of how quickly someone can vanish, leaving behind a trail of terror and unanswered questions. And now, we move to a tale so dark it might make you question what's lurking in the shadows of your own home. 2. The Silent Stalker of Hinterkaifeck, 1922, Germany. Deep in the Bavarian woods, the Hinterkaifeck farm stood as a quiet, isolated refuge for the Gruber family. But in March 1922, it became the site of one of Germany's most horrifying unsolved massacres. The events leading up to the murders were as chilling as the crime itself. Andreas Gruber, the patriarch, began noticing strange occurrences weeks before the killings. Footsteps in the snow led from the forest to his home, but none led back. Late at night, he heard footsteps in the attic, but when he searched, he found nothing. Keys went missing. A newspaper Andreas didn't subscribe to appeared on his doorstep. He confided in neighbors, but they dismissed his concerns as paranoia. On the evening of March 31st, the family's maid arrived to begin her first day of work. Tragically, it would also be her last. That night, an unknown assailant lured each family member into the barn, one by one, and bludgeoned them to death with a pickaxe. The victims included Andreas, his wife Kazilia, their daughter Victoria, and her 2 children. Even the maid, who had just started, met the same gruesome fate. The horror didn't end with the murders. Over the next few days, neighbors noticed smoke rising from the farm's chimney. Someone had stayed in the house, feeding the livestock and eating the family's food while their corpses lay in the barn. When neighbors finally discovered the bodies, the gruesome scene shocked the community. Despite an extensive investigation, the killer was never identified. The farm was eventually demolished, but the chilling mystery of Hinterkaifeck endures, a dark legend of a stalker who lived unseen among his victims. Prepare yourself, as the next story dives into the unexplainable and the deeply unsettling. 3. The Vanishing Hotel Room, Paris, 1889. During the 1889 World's Fair, Paris was alive with energy, attracting millions of visitors. Among them was a wealthy Englishwoman, Margaret Whitcomb, and her daughter Eleanor. They checked into the luxurious Hotel Crillon, near Place de la Concorde. The pair had come to see the Eiffel Tower, a marvel of the modern age. But their trip would soon spiral into a nightmare. Margaret fell ill shortly after checking into the hotel. By evening, her fever had worsened, and Eleanor, desperate for help, fetched a doctor recommended by the concierge. The doctor examined Margaret and left, advising Eleanor to retrieve medicine from a nearby pharmacy. Eleanor hurried into the bustling Parisian streets, returning within the hour. When she arrived back at the hotel, something was terribly wrong. The concierge acted as if he'd never seen her before. When Eleanor demanded to be taken to her mother's room, the staff informed her that no such room existed. Panic-stricken, Eleanor insisted, describing the suite in detail. But when she was escorted to the floor, her mother's room was gone. The door she had left ajar was now a wall, seamlessly blending with the corridor. The more Eleanor protested, the more the staff dismissed her claims. They produced a forged register that showed no record of their stay. Eleanor was accused of lying or suffering from hysteria. Frantic, she searched for her mother's belongings but found nothing. It was as if Margaret Whitcomb had never existed. Rumors swirled that the hotel had been hiding an outbreak of plague. Margaret's death might have been covered up to avoid scandal and financial ruin. But why erase Eleanor's presence too? Was she a loose end they couldn't risk? Eleanor returned to England, her pleas ignored. Haunted by the disappearance, she fell into depression and lived the rest of her life trying to unravel the mystery. To this day, the story of the Vanishing Hotel Room remains one of the most chilling urban legends in travel history. Are you ready for the next story? This one will leave you questioning the safety of your own home. 4. The Watcher House, Westfield, New Jersey, 2014. The Broaddus family thought they'd found their dream home, a 6-bedroom colonial in the affluent suburb of Westfield, New Jersey. But shortly after purchasing 657 Boulevard, their dream turned into a nightmare. Just days after moving in, Derek Broaddus found a letter in the mailbox. It was addressed to the new owner in an elegant yet menacing script. The letter began warmly, congratulating them on their new home, but quickly took a sinister turn. 657 Boulevard has been the subject of my family for decades. I have been put in charge of watching it and waiting for its second coming. My grandfather watched the house in the 1920s, and my father in the 1960s. Now it is my time. Do you know the history of the house? Why are you here? I will find out. The letter made specific references to the Broaddus children, whom the writer claimed to have seen playing in the yard. Over the following weeks, more letters arrived. The Watcher described interior details of the home, proving they were closely monitoring the family. Fearful for their safety, the Broadduses halted their move-in plans. The police investigation yielded no suspects, and the letters kept coming. One ominously asked, "Will the young blood play in the basement? Or are they too afraid to go down there alone?" Unable to sell the house due to the publicity, the Broadduses rented it out, but the mystery of the Watcher remains unresolved. The story has since been adapted into a Netflix series, but the real-life terror of being stalked in your own home lingers. Next, we'll journey into the depths of the Appalachian wilderness, where isolation breeds terror. 5. The Mysterious Bell Witch of Tennessee, 1817 to 1821. In the early 19th century, the Bell family of Adams, Tennessee, endured a haunting so relentless that it became one of the most infamous supernatural legends in American history. The Bell Witch phenomenon began quietly but grew into something far more sinister, leaving behind a tale of terror that still echoes through time. The ordeal began in 1817 when John Bell, a farmer, noticed strange occurrences on his land. He spotted an unusual creature with the body of a dog and the head of a rabbit lurking in his cornfield. When he fired his rifle, the animal vanished. Soon after, his family began hearing strange knocking sounds at night, seemingly coming from the walls of their cabin. The disturbances escalated. The Bell children were tormented in their sleep, their blankets ripped from their beds by an invisible force. Whispers, cries, and laughter filled the home, growing louder and more malicious with each passing night. The family claimed the spirit often spoke in a raspy, disembodied voice, identifying itself as Kate. Kate seemed to harbor a deep hatred for John Bell and vowed to kill him. The torment became unbearable as John fell ill, his body wasting away under the constant harassment. On December 20th, 1820, he was found dead, and a strange vial of black liquid was discovered near his body. The entity's voice triumphantly declared, "I gave old Jack a big dose of that last night, and it fixed him right up." To prove its claim, the vial was tested on a cat, which died instantly. After John's death, the witch seemed to grow bored, leaving the family in relative peace. Despite its departure, the legend persisted, with visitors to the Bell property reporting unexplained phenomena for decades. The Bell Witch Cave, a nearby site tied to the story, remains a popular tourist attraction and a hotspot for paranormal enthusiasts. And now, we'll uncover a chilling story of an ordinary photograph that holds a dark secret. 6. The Ghost of Freddie Jackson, 1919, England. The story of Freddie Jackson is a haunting reminder of how the supernatural can intersect with the mundane, leaving behind inexplicable evidence. In 1919, Sir Victor Goddard's RAF squadron posed for a group photograph shortly after World War I. It was a solemn moment of camaraderie and remembrance. When the photo was developed, the airmen noticed something strange. Behind one of the men stood a face, pale, spectral, and out of place. The face was immediately recognized as that of Freddie Jackson, a mechanic who had died just 2 days earlier in a tragic accident involving an airplane propeller. What made the photograph so unnerving was that Freddie's funeral had taken place on the day of the group photo. Many believed Freddie had not realized he was dead and had shown up for the photo as if nothing had happened. The photograph became famous as one of the earliest documented cases of ghostly apparitions caught on camera. Paranormal experts and skeptics alike have analyzed the image, but no conclusive explanation has been found. The spectral figure of Freddie Jackson continues to chill viewers over a century later. Hold tight, because the next story involves a forest that seems alive with unspeakable dread. 7. The Haunting of the Hoia Baciu Forest, Romania, 1968. Deep in the heart of Transylvania lies the Hoia Baciu Forest, often dubbed the Bermuda Triangle of Romania. This dense woodland is notorious for unexplained phenomena, eerie disappearances, and encounters with the supernatural. The forest's chilling reputation began to spread in 1968, when biologist Alexandru Sift captured a photograph of a UFO hovering over its twisted trees. Locals had long feared the forest, whispering tales of shepherds who vanished with their flocks and children who entered but never returned. The most unsettling feature of Hoia Baciu is the dead zone, a perfectly circular clearing where no vegetation grows. Scientists have tried to explain this anomaly, but no soil analysis has provided a clear answer. Visitors often report disorienting sensations upon entering the forest: nausea, anxiety, and an overwhelming sense of being watched. Others describe hearing disembodied whispers or seeing shadowy figures darting between the trees. Even more chilling are the accounts of time loss. A young woman claimed she spent only a few minutes in the forest but emerged hours later with no memory of what had transpired. Perhaps the most famous tale involves a 5-year-old girl who disappeared in the forest in the 1940s. Decades later, she emerged, wearing the same clothes and looking as though she hadn't aged a day. She had no memory of where she'd been or how she had survived. The Hoia Baciu forest remains a place of intrigue and fear, drawing paranormal investigators from around the world. Some leave with unsettling evidence: strange light patterns, eerie sounds, and even burn marks on their skin. But many who venture in refuse to return, terrified by what they've experienced. Ready for what's next? This next story is about a cursed painting that spreads fear wherever it goes. 8. The Anguished Man, England, 1980s present. Sean Robinson inherited the painting from his grandmother in the 1980s. Known as the Anguished Man, the artwork depicts a screaming, distorted figure painted in blood-red hues. His grandmother had always warned him that the painting was cursed, claiming she'd heard whispers and seen shadowy figures whenever it was in her home. Sean, curious but skeptical, stored the painting in his attic for years. In 2010, after a house renovation, he decided to hang it in his bedroom. That's when the nightmares began. Sean and his family were plagued by unexplainable events. Doors slamming shut on their own, faint cries in the dead of night, and even a sensation of being watched. One night, Sean awoke to find a shadowy figure standing at the foot of his bed. The entity, which resembled the figure in the painting, vanished as he screamed. His wife and son also reported being pushed by an invisible force. Determined to find answers, Sean began researching the painting's origin. He discovered it had been created by a disturbed artist who mixed his own blood into the paint before taking his own life. Unable to cope with the haunting, Sean moved the painting to his basement. Paranormal investigators who visited his home confirmed unusual energy surrounding the artwork, capturing strange sounds and orbs on their equipment. Despite its dark reputation, the Anguished Man remains in Sean's possession, locked away where it can harm no one. Let's keep going. This next story will make you think twice about the things we bring into our homes. 9. The Dybbuk Box, Missouri, 2003. In 2003, Kevin Manis, an antique shop owner in Portland, Oregon, purchased a peculiar wooden wine cabinet at an estate sale. The box was said to have come from the estate of a Holocaust survivor and carried a chilling warning. "Do not open." Kevin, intrigued but dismissive of superstition, ignored the caution and took the box home. From the moment the box entered his life, Kevin experienced a series of terrifying events. He and those around him suffered from unexplainable health issues, vivid nightmares, and a pervasive sense of dread. The box emitted strange odors, sometimes jasmine, other times the stench of rotting flesh. Lights flickered, objects moved on their own, and shadowy figures began to haunt Kevin's dreams. Unable to endure the torment, Kevin sold the Dybbuk box on eBay, describing its sinister history. The new owner, Jason Haxton, a museum curator in Missouri, faced even more intense disturbances. He developed chronic health problems, including strange welts and coughing up blood. His home became a hotspot for paranormal activity, with his family reporting unexplainable banging noises, strange shadows, and even poltergeist-like behavior. Jason, desperate for relief, consulted rabbis who advised him to seal the box and bury it. Following their guidance, he performed a ritual to trap the malevolent spirit inside, then hid the box in a secret location. Despite his efforts, the Dybbuk box's legend has only grown, with some claiming it carries the spirit of a restless demon or an anguished soul. The story gained international fame after it inspired the 2012 movie The Possession. Paranormal enthusiasts continue to seek the box, but those who come near it often leave with disturbing tales and warnings to stay away. What's next is a chilling tale of revenge from beyond the grave. Brace yourself. 10. The Greenbrier Ghost, West Virginia, 1897. In the quiet town of Greenbrier County, West Virginia, a young woman named Zona Hester Shue was found dead under mysterious circumstances in 1897. Her husband, Erasmus Shue, claimed she had succumbed to everlasting faint. The local doctor, who also served as the coroner, noted the death suspicious but didn't press further due to Erasmus's insistent grief. Zona's mother, Mary Jane Hester, however, believed there was foul play. She prayed for weeks, begging her daughter to reveal the truth. Her prayers were answered when Zona's ghost reportedly appeared to her over 4 consecutive nights. The spirit revealed Erasmus had murdered her in a fit of rage, snapping her neck. To prove it, Zona's ghost turned her head 180 degrees in the vision. Convinced by the ghostly visitation, Mary Jane demanded an exhumation of Zona's body. During the autopsy, It was discovered her neck was indeed broken, and her windpipe had been crushed, evidence of strangulation. Confronted with the findings, Erasmus confessed to the murder and was sentenced to life in prison. The case of the Greenbrier ghost remains unique in legal history, as it was the only time in the United States where testimony from a ghost was admitted as evidence in court. Zona's restless spirit found peace after justice was served, but her story continues to be told as a chilling reminder of the lengths the dead might go to reveal the truth. As we reach the end of this chilling journey through 10 of the most terrifying true stories, one thing is clear: the unknown is closer than we think, and sometimes reality is far scarier than any fiction. These tales remind us of the mysteries that lurk in the shadows, the cursed objects hiding in plain sight, and the spirits that may never rest. Now, we want to hear from you. Which story sent chills down your spine? Was it the haunted Dybbuk box or the vengeful Greenbrier ghost? Or perhaps the eerie twists of Hoyabachu Forest? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll never miss out on another hair-raising story. Your support keeps us exploring the depths of the unknown, bringing more spine-tingling tales to life. Finally, if you've ever had your own supernatural encounter or know of a story we should feature, let us know in the comments. Your story could be next. Until next time, remember, what you don't see can sometimes be far more terrifying than what you do. Sweet dreams. If you can sleep, ghost.